Why do traders fear winning more than they fear losing? Read that again. Not losing, winning. It sounds insane. You've spent months, maybe years, chasing green candles. You've lost sleep over red ones. You've told yourself, if I could just win more, everything would be fine. But here's the part nobody tells you. Somewhere inside every trader, there's a quiet, invisible ceiling. And the moment you get close to it, the moment the account starts growing, the moment the strategy starts working, the moment you finally start winning, something in you flinches. You take profit too early. You widen your stop for just one more trade. You suddenly feel the urge to revenge trade a winning streak into dust. You sabotage the one thing you swore you wanted. And it's not bad luck. It's not the market. It's not your strategy. It's you. Today, we're going to open up the psychology behind why winning scares traders more than losing ever could. Not surface-level tips, not just be disciplined advice. We're going deep into the wiring, the identity, the fear, the invisible thermostat inside your mind that quietly resets you back to where you feel safe. Because once you see this pattern, you can't unsee it. And once you understand it, you can finally break it. Let's begin. Point 1. The identity threat. Here's something psychology has known for decades. Human beings don't just protect their money, they protect their self-image. If you've spent years believing, deep down, I'm not the kind of person who succeeds, then winning doesn't feel like relief. It feels like a threat. Think about it. If you grew up in a home where money was scarce, or where success was met with suspicion, or where you were told to stay humble so often that ambition started to feel dangerous, your nervous system learned a rule. Winning big draws attention. Attention draws risk. Risk means pain. So when your account finally starts climbing, your subconscious doesn't celebrate. It panics. It says, this isn't who we are. Slow down, pull back, get us back to familiar ground. This is why so many traders can hold a losing position for hours, hoping, praying, bargaining. But the second a trade goes green and starts running, they close it in seconds. Losing feels familiar. Winning feels foreign. And the mind will always choose familiar over foreign, even when foreign is better. This isn't weakness, it's self-protection gone wrong. Your brain is trying to keep you safe by keeping you small. Point 2. The fear of raised expectations. Here's a question. If you win consistently for 1 month, what happens the next month? You're expected to do it again. And that expectation, the one you place on yourself, is heavier than any expectation the market could ever give you. Losing has an escape hatch. You can blame the market. Bad news, a random spike, a manipulated candle. There's always a story that lets you off the hook. But winning removes the excuses. Winning says, you can do this, so now you have to keep doing it. And for a lot of traders, that pressure is terrifying. Because if you keep winning, you can no longer hide behind, I'm still learning, or the market's been rough lately. You have to face a much scarier thought. What if I actually am good at this, and now I have to prove it, over and over, forever? So the mind does something clever and cruel. It sabotages the win before the pressure of repeating it ever arrives. One reckless trade, one oversized position, one broken rule. And just like that, the winning streak is gone, and so is the pressure that came with it. You didn't fail by accident. Some part of you needed the escape hatch back. Point 3. Success and the loss of control narrative. This one is subtle, so stay with me. Losing traders often describe their losses in a strange way. They say things like, the market took my money. Not, I made a decision that didn't work out. The market took it, as if it happened to them. That framing feels bad, but it's also strangely comfortable. Because if the market did it to you, you're not responsible. You're a victim of circumstance. But winning doesn't allow that story. When you win, there's no one to blame and no one to credit but you. Winning forces ownership, and ownership is uncomfortable for a mind that has spent years avoiding responsibility as a form of emotional protection. This is why some traders unconsciously prefer a string of small, explainable losses over one large win. The losses fit the story they've already written about themselves. The win doesn't. The win asks a dangerous question. If I'm actually in control here, then what have I really been doing this whole time? That question is uncomfortable enough that some traders would rather lose money than answer it. Point 4. Homeostasis, the emotional thermostat. In psychology, homeostasis describes the body's drive to return to a stable, familiar state, even when that state isn't ideal. Your body does this with temperature. Your mind does this with self-worth. If your internal success thermostat is set low because of past experiences, comparison, criticism, or simply years of small self-belief, then any spike above that setting feels unstable, uncomfortable, wrong. So when your account rises far past what your mind believes it deserves, your internal thermostat doesn't say, "Great, let's stay here." It says, "This is too high. Bring it back down." And your behavior follows the setting, not the profit and loss. You start taking trades you know are bad. You increase size right after a big win, not from strategy, but from something closer to self-punishment. You feel an almost magnetic pull back toward your old, familiar balance. This is why so many traders can grow an account from 1,000 to 10,000, and then, without a single strategy change, watch it fall right back down to 2,000. The strategy didn't fail. The thermostat did its job. It reset you to what felt normal. Until you raise your internal setting, your sense of what you deserve, what you're capable of, what a normal account balance looks like for you, no strategy in the world will let you keep the gains. You will always find your way back to your emotional baseline. Point 5. The fear of becoming someone new. This is the deepest layer, and the one almost nobody talks about. Winning consistently doesn't just change your bank account. It changes who you are. It changes how people see you. It changes how you see yourself. And change, even good change, activates fear. Because change means the version of you that existed before, the cautious one, the doubtful one, the one who always had an excuse ready, has to die a little. And some part of you is loyal to that old identity, even if it was never serving you. Maybe you've told your friends for years, trading is basically gambling, or nobody actually wins consistently. If you start winning, that story collapses. And collapsing stories, even false ones, feel like a kind of loss. Maybe you're afraid that if you become successful, people close to you will treat you differently. Envy, distance, expectation. Some traders unconsciously stay small so they don't have to navigate what winning would do to their relationships. This is the trader's version of what psychologists call fear of success, a documented pattern where people sabotage positive outcomes not because they don't want them, but because they're terrified of what those outcomes will demand of them next. Winning asks you to become someone new, and becoming someone new is one of the scariest things a human being can do, even when the old version of you was miserable. So where does this leave you? Here's the truth traders need to hear, and rarely do. Trading was never just a test of strategy. It was always a test of identity. The market doesn't create your fear of winning. It simply reveals it. Every winning trade is a small mirror held up to whatever you secretly believe you deserve. If you believe underneath it all that you're not allowed to have this, the market will find a way to prove you right. Not because it's rigged, not because it's cruel, but because your own decisions, made quietly and reflexively under pressure, will always steer you back toward what feels familiar. So if you've been sabotaging your winners, if you've been cutting profits short while letting losses run, If you've noticed that every time your account starts to grow, something inside you starts to unravel, this is not a flaw in your trading plan. It's a flaw in the story you've been telling yourself about what you're allowed to have. And here's the good news. Stories can be rewritten. The first step isn't a new indicator or a better entry signal. It's sitting with the discomfort of winning instead of running from it. It's noticing the urge to sabotage and pausing just for 3 seconds before you act on it. It's asking yourself honestly, am I making this decision from strategy, or am I making it from fear of what happens if I actually keep this money? Consistency doesn't come from finding the perfect system. It comes from becoming a person who can tolerate success without flinching. A person whose internal thermostat is set high enough to match the results they're capable of. That's the real edge. Not a stop loss, not a moving average. An inner edge. The ability to stay steady when things go right, not just when things go wrong. So the next time you're in a winning trade and you feel that itch to close it early, that voice whispering, take the money and run, pause. Ask yourself who's really talking. Is it your strategy, or is it the old familiar fear trying to bring you back down to where it feels safe? You don't need to fear winning. You need to understand why you do, and slowly, patiently, prove to yourself that you're allowed to keep what you earn. If this gave you a moment of clarity today, that's exactly why this channel exists. We're not here to give you another strategy. We're here to help you understand the mind behind the trades, because that's where every real edge begins. Subscribe if you want more of this, not because it helps the channel, but because the next video might be the one that finally explains the pattern you've been stuck in for years. Until then, trade steady, win without flinching. And remember, the market isn't testing your strategy. It's testing who you believe you're allowed to become.